Zoroastrianism, Symbols and Values by Jacques, Duchesne-Guillemin. Picking back up on page 25. The entities which in Zoroaster's system form Ahura Mazda's escort already had a long past, several of them going back to the Indo-Iranian period. This is certainly the case with Asha, Vedic Rita, and Armati, Vedic Armati. Most of the others probably existed as notions in Indo-Iranian period, but were still only partly personified. Asha, it has been denied that Rata was personified in the Veda. This is a question of terms. Rata is not represented in human form, but it is nevertheless referred to as a person, since one hymn, Rig Veda 1.75.5, states that Agni should not worship not only Mitra, Varuna, and other gods, but also the lofty Rita, while another passage calls to help amongst other gods, the great Rita. 1066.4. The high antiquity of the personification is indeed warranted by the proper names of Aryan chiefs of Mitanni, Syria, and Palestine containing this term: Atramanya, Aratsumara, Artadama, Artama. This tradition was continued in historical Iran, notably with the Median kings. The cuneiform texts yield under Solomon Asar III, 858 through 824 BC, and Artasari under his successor, and Artasariru in Persian times. We have King Artaxerxes, or more exactly, Artarakshatra. What did Asharita mean? Ever since the authors of Petersburg Dictionary, whose opinion was taken over notably by Berigagni and Oldenburg, it has been customary to see in the Rita not only truth. Ratam Vad means to tell the truth, but the order of things, be it in nature or in the liturgy or in moral conduct. It could be inferred that the Indo-Iranians had conceived of a sort of great cosmic law controlling both the course of the heavenly bodies and the behavior of men. Against this interpretation, Luders protested in 1910, but the full details of his demonstration were only published posthumously. The gist of it is that the Vedic authors did not have the notion of universal order. Rita is merely the truth, the non-lie, and if it's influenced the course of the stars in human conduct, ritual or otherwise, it is in virtue of the magical power of the true utterance of the exact formula uttered in the cult. The ceremony which brings this power into play is well known, although in its name it is not attested in Sanskrit. It is the Saka Kiryao of the Pali text. In order to obtain the favor of a god, one pronounces the truth, not necessarily a reminder of a former favor for this god and his secure success. This new thesis soon had supporters, and as early as 1911, Andreas and Wackernagel applied it to the Gitas, translated as Asha, as truth. There, they still are followed today by Gershevich, Humbach, Thiem, etc. However, the new thesis of Luders was rejected by Oldenburg in 1915 in favor of the former one by Bernhard Geiger. In 1916 and 1934, these authors have, among other things, drawn our attention to the impossibility in certain passages to take the Anarita as a non-truth. The clearest of these passages is Rig Veda V.86.6, where a sinner addressing himself to Varuna begs forgiveness for his unconscious faults. It was not intentional. It was a blindless drink, anchor, the dice. And even sleep does not avert Hanrita. The obvious sense of the last word is undoubtedly fault, sin, non-observance of the law. Looters, who boast of taking all the passages into account contrary to his predecessors, does not take up this one in the detailed demonstration he gives in pages 402 through 654 of his book. He quotes it only in the introductory summary, page 36, where he obstinately translates Anarta by lie, although the whole context, as he himself admits, speaks of faults and of sin. Nevertheless, the letters analyses have had a positive result by showing the magic origin of the cosmic value given the Rita. For, while maintaining the translation truth, he speaks of it as a cosmic force, a magic potency, but he thought he had discovered within the Veda this process by which a mere utterance from the mouth of men becomes a force in the universe. It is more difficult to follow him here, for we do not witness this process developing in the Veda. We see at once the result of it, the conception of the Rita as a cosmic and moral power. This conception is not only Vedic, but found also, as we shall see presently, in Iran. The Rita materializes itself in light, as is shown by Luders himself, page 619. Similarly, in Iran, according to Zoroastrianism 31.7, Asha filled the space with lights. Avestan Ashavan, follower of Asha, must very soon have come to mean just good, in contradiction to Dragvan, follower of the dredge, a meaning which is that of Pahlavi Arav. However, since it could be objected that this is purely Iranian development, or even a purely Zoroastrian one, is best left out of account. We can then consider only the old Persian term Atravan. This connotes the quality of the deceased, and may I dead be Atrava, says Xerxes in Persepolis 48, which corresponds perfectly as shown recently by Kieper. The Vedic Ratavan, an epithet of gods, of the deceased fathers, and of death. The essential point being that Rita is linked up with a domain of death. It is regularly hidden where the sun's horse are unharnessed. Rigveda V.62.1. On the whole, the conception of Rita, objectified as a cosmic power, proves to be of Indo-Iranian date. It matters little then whether we persist in translating it by truth, which recalls its far-off genesis, or whether, on the contrary, we prefer not to overburden the word truth with implications it hardly has in our languages, and to stick more closely to the Vedic terms definition formulated by Geiger as follows: the right, including the idea of truth as the cosmic force, the norm for decent behavior, the guide for all actions.